Happy Sunday and a happy Liberation Day to you all. Always a pleasure to have your company. The news in detail with me, Gloria Mutesi. Starting us off tonight, President Paul Kagame has pointed out that Rwanda is a nation of tangible achievements, not just a country on the map, and that those achievements are geared towards the good welfare of her citizens. The Rwandan Head of State made the statement during an address to the nation as the country celebrated the 27th anniversary of her liberation, a day that was also marked by the inauguration of the Kinigi Modern Settlement in Musanze District of the Northern Province. The president noted that the settlement as a fine example of some of the infrastructure being developed for the sake of the local communities around the country in collaboration with the RDF. Stationary with the details.
The construction of the modern settlement itself was began towards the end of last year and includes a number of key infrastructure. On Sunday, as the country marked the 27th anniversary of Liberation Day, the Kinigi Modern Settlement was inaugurated and a number of officials, including the Minister of Defense, Major General Albert Murasira, and the Minister of Local Government, Jean-Marie Vianney Gatabazi, toured the settlement and its facilities that include a modern health center, a school with 2 smart classrooms and a library, as well as a daycare center and nursery. The new residents of the settlement are beside themselves with joy. In the past, if you did not have an official who was born in your home area, it was difficult for that area to develop. Now, however, wherever you go, you see development. Let me give you an example of what I mean. It used to be that schools were named after officials. So were other forms of infrastructure that were being constructed by officials in their home areas. Now that infrastructure development is being dispersed in all districts without discrimination. We used to live in the valley behind these apartment complexes, and now we are adjusting to having self-contained homes. And we intend to keep our dwellings clean and live well. When you're led by good leaders and fail to make achievements in your own life, then you are truly a failure. We are led by good leaders, and we do not intend to become failures in this regard. An example is the school here at Kamanga. It has completely been renovated and modernized. The nursery school is truly amazing, and I have not seen anything like it before. We were born in grass-thatched huts, and I believe you did not see a single one on your way here. We never wore shoes as children, and yet were forced to walk long distances to get an education because getting a school nearby was a problem. Now we have a school right here. This year's Liberation Day celebrations did not feature large gatherings as the country continues with its struggle against COVID-19. In his address to the nation, President Paul Kagame mentioned the Kinigi Modern Settlement as a fine example of some of the infrastructure being developed for the sake of local communities around the country.
Umudugudu w'icyitegererezo wa Kinigi watashywe uyu munsi kimwe n'indi mishinga ijyanye no guteza imbere abaturage yakozwe n'ingabo z'igihugu ku bufatanye n'izindi nzego birerekana ugushyira hamwe nk'abanyarwanda kandi twabigize umuco. Ndashaka nabyo kubibashimira. Imyaka 27 irashize abanyarwanda twishyize hamwe tubohora igihugu cyacu. Kuva icyo gihe twiyemeje gukorera hamwe buri munsi kugira ngo twubake umuryango nyarwanda ndetse duhindure u Rwanda igihugu cyiza kuri buri wese.
The leader also pointed out the fact that Rwanda is more than just a country on a map, with tangible achievements geared towards the welfare of her citizens.
Uyu munsi u Rwanda ntabwo ari igihugu ku ikarita gusa. Kuri twe bivuze igihugu buri wese yishimira kandi kimuteye ishema kinamukeneye. U Rwanda tubona ubu rusobanuye icyizere, rusobanura ko dufatanya buri wese akita kuri mugenzi we. Turashaka ko umunyarwanda wese agira ubuzima bwiza kandi akisanzura, bityo akabyaza umusaruro amahirwe yose aboneka mu gihugu, haba mu burezi, mu gushaka akazi no kwihangira imirimo. ibikorwa byacu byo guteza imbere ubukungu bw'u Rwanda n'imibereho myiza bigomba gukomeza kandi bikihuta.
The Kinigi Modern Settlement has been completed at a cost of more than 26 billion Rwandan francs and is part of a broader objective to modernize the area and make room for more agricultural activities while boosting tourism as well.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources says that the agriculture sector has played a key role in helping Rwandans liberate themselves from poverty and food insecurity over the past 27 years. This is also confirmed by farmers themselves, as they believe that their livelihoods have changed because the country has enabled them to operate on an international market level. Jane Mutuni with the details.
Kansawa Savera is a farmer of green beans in the Kinigi swamp, which she shares with other 980 farmers. Their plantation takes up to 163 hectares of the swamp. She says they ship their green beans to the UK and France and earn at least 800,000 Rwandan francs in just 45 days. Farming has improved my well-being to a satisfying extent. Usually after 45 days, they are ready to be harvested, and then I export them to France and other countries. I have faith that one day I will travel abroad as well. The green bean farming is run by members of the Gasabo Farmers Cooperative, Kuabiga. They say they use the income from it to invest in other various activities. Currently, I live in a presentable house of 5 rooms and a sitting room, and I have other houses of which I rent to people. In other words, I now have enough capital. In Rwanda, agriculture is made up of 69% of all Rwandans. Emmanuel Ndagijimana, president of Kuabiga Cooperative that does vegetable farming in the Kinigi swamp, says many farmers are affiliated with cooperatives.
Our green bean harvest has rose from 6 tons to 11 tons per hectare. Currently, we're planning to plant more on 40 hectares so as to be able to export about 300 tons, which is worth 130 million Rwandan francs, which will help us to expand and offer employment to more people, which not only contributes to the growth of the agriculture sector, but also of the country at large.
The permanent secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources, Jean-Claude Musabyimana, says agriculture has contributed to reducing the poverty rate from 60.4% in 2000 to 38.2% in 2017. In the 2000s, food security was less than 60%, but rose to 81.3%.
The areas that had those issues at the time are now habitats of good forests and grow good quality wheat, coffee and maize. In areas like Musanze District, residents there would migrate from there during the sunny season, but now Musanze District and other districts have become food baskets for the country.
There were some parts of Rwanda where hunger was prevalent from 1986 to 1994, causing the population to migrate, including Nyamagabe, Bugesera and Nyagatare, but are currently the country's food basket.
The mindset of the farmers has evolved as well. They have maintained consistency, hence the production increasing too. The quantity exported abroad has increased as well.
Agriculture and livestock production has gone from 227 billion Rwandan francs in 1999 to 2,559 billion Rwandan francs today. Agriculture production has increased by between 5 and 7% after 2000, that it now accounts for 30% of the country's gross domestic product. Tea production rose from 11,000 tons in 1994 to 32,634 tons, and the country earns $17.5 million from it, which is equivalent to 64 billion Rwandan francs because it's exported to 13 countries, whereas the income from coffee exportation has rose from $38 million to $60.4 million, which is equivalent to 60 billion Rwandan francs. Jane Mutoni, RTV News.
Many thanks, Jane Mutoni. Now, His Excellency President Paul Kagame is urging Rwandans to continue protecting themselves against COVID-19 in accordance with health regulations, as Rwanda expects to receive more vaccines in the coming days. Despite the regulations being in place, though, various people are seen violating them in Kigali City, where residents are concerned about the continued increase of infections and deaths from COVID-19. A section of residents acknowledge that indeed complacency when it comes to COVID-19 regulations and overcrowding are the main reasons for the increased number of COVID-19 infections. We are worried because most of our friends, neighbors and relatives are currently infected with COVID-19. For instance, in this village, a good number of our neighbors have it. The infections are really high these days. It's the first time we're seeing such numbers. It's also the first time we're seeing it firsthand in our families. Our uncle has it and he's in critical condition. It's truly sad. We need to protect ourselves. It's really strange when you walk and don't see people in the road. That's the seriousness of this pandemic. It's scary that it has come to this. Churches and places of worship are currently closed, and worship sessions are currently conducted online and through media outlets. Bars remain closed, while restaurants only offer takeaway services. Various buildings, too, have been closed down in the city of Kigali for violating COVID-19 guidelines. Mukandoli Grace, the executive secretary of Mohima sector, says there are some people that have been caught violating the measures more than once. We shut down operations for a restaurant and 3 supermarkets just here on the 1st of July when we found them serving people food and alcohol, yet the guidelines stipulated that it's only takeaway services that are allowed. One day after we had shut them down, we came back to inspect and we found that one of them had passed behind, welcomed people inside and we found them drinking. We immediately involved RIB because that is disrespect. During his address to the nation, as the country marked 27 years since her liberation, President Paul Kagame asked Rwandans to put in extra effort in protecting themselves against COVID-19.
Ubu ni ngombwa ndetse ni ngombwa cyane ugereranije n'ibihe byatambutse gukurikiza ingamba zishyirwaho na Minisiteri y'Ubuzima n'ibindi bigo hagamijwe gukumira ikwirakwizwa rya COVID no kurokora ubuzima bw'Abanyarwanda. Kurwanya no gutsinda COVID ni imwe mu nzira yo gukomeza ibikorwa byo kwibohora.
The head of state also said that Rwanda was close to getting more vaccines and that it was ready for the vaccines to be manufactured here, which gives hope that more people will get the vaccine.
Muri iyi minsi tugiye kubona izindi nkingo zidufasha kongera ubwirinzi bw'umubiri duhereye ku barusha abandi ibyago byo kwandura COVID. Turifuza nuko zigera ku Banyarwanda benshi uko bizagenda bishoboka. Ariko mu rwego rwo kwigira turakora ibishoboka byose ngo twubake ubushobozi bwo gukora inkingo n'indi miti mu Rwanda. Ibi bizagabanya guhora twiringiye imiti ituruka hanze y'igihugu itabonekera igihe cyangwa itangwa hagendewe ku zindi nyungu. Ariko birasaba igihe kandi tugomba kwihangana. Hagati aho buri wese afite uruhare runini mu kuba maso no guhindura imikorere kugira ngo tubashe kugabanya ibyago byo kwandura virusi yandurira mu mwuka.
More than 390,000 people have been vaccinated in Rwanda currently, and the country plans to vaccinate at least 60% of her population. We will leave it at that for today. Thank you for the privilege of your time. I wish you all a wonderful week ahead. Of course, not forgetting to remind you to do all that's required of you to stop the spread of the pandemic. Otherwise, God bless you and keep you. And until next time, I'm Gloria Mutesi. Bye for now.